what I look like when my husband met me.
Hi, Dan. I just moved in next door. I'm a supermodel.
Versus
I don't care
today.
who the IRS sends. I am not paying taxes.
You know what we tell women nowadays? Know your worth. You know what we tell men nowadays? Know your place. Women can be old, overweight, already have children, but if they're in the dating market, then everybody is culturally obligated to treat them as though they're a queen. She deserves the best. She's entitled to a good man. She's of the highest value. She's incredible. She's amazing, and everyone is beautiful. Everyone, unless of course you're a man. How do we view men who are less than desirable, but who act as though they deserve the best, that they're entitled to a good woman? The response that he gets is anger. You're a man, you're not entitled to anything. You need to know your place. You exist at the bottom of the hierarchy. How dare you think that you deserve a woman? You're delusional. Don't you know how low quality you are? Shame on you for not knowing your place. It is fascinating to me how different we treat men and women in this regard. We are completely comfortable ranking men, designating them winners and losers, putting them in a hierarchy. It's absolutely common sense that everybody can see that there are some men who are less desirable than others. But at this moment of time in the West, in this culture, women seem completely incapable of recognizing or understanding that they too exist in a hierarchy in terms of desirability. It might not be politically correct to say this, but of course we can rank women in terms of desirability. Every man does this in the privacy of his own heart. He knows which women he places at the top of his list and which women he would never go near. Very few men actually have the masculine courage to speak these preferences out loud because they know the angry backlash that they would receive from women jumping up and down, screaming sexism, screaming misogyny. How dare men rank us or judge us in terms of desirability as though some women are better than other women or more desirable. It's completely dehumanizing. You can't view women in this way. People don't exist to just be judged and ranked, and maybe that message would resonate at a much deeper level were it not for the fact that women are complete hypocrites. Women do not practice what they preach, not even close. It's one of the bizarre hypocrisies of the modern age that young men are forced to swallow, that it's completely okay for women to judge them and to rank them in terms of desirability based on female specific criteria. When a young man writes to me for advice, which you can do here, wanting to know what he can do to make himself more attractive, we go through the same list. This isn't an invention of my mind. This is obviously borne out by the data, by the actions of women. What kinds of men do women date? Women want a man who's tall, good looking, athletic body, successful, wealthy, respected, high status. When a man has all of those characteristics, women rank him higher than other men. And when a man is placed by so many different women at the top of a totem pole, he's given certain liberties that are denied to other men. For example, he's allowed to know his worth, to recognize that he's high quality, and to hold out for a good woman. Nobody resents that of him if he is to say something like, I'm entitled to a high quality woman, I'm holding out for a good partner. But when a man is short or ugly or broke and he says something similar, I'm holding out for a good woman, I'm entitled to a high quality woman, the response from women is anger. You delusional creep. Why don't you know your place? Now, from where I'm sitting, all of that technically makes sense. Women are ranking men in terms of their desirability, and they're treating them differently based on how high or low quality those men are. I don't have a problem with that. If there's some loser guy at the bottom of the totem pole who thinks he's entitled to a supermodel girlfriend, I also think he's delusional. I'm not going to be cruel about it, but there is a certain degree of like, dude, wake up, know your place. But what I'm saying is that those rankings that are ruthlessly applied to men also need to be applied to women. Watch this clip. This is a woman who clearly refuses to accept her place in the rankings.
Maybe, do you know you're white? Do you know you're fat? Do you know you're ugly? Do you know? Do you know I'm gorgeous, I'm beautiful with this pasty ass skin and fupa and all? Do you know that? And I'll take your man. And your girl too, because you know I like girls more anyway, baby. I'm coming for her. Where's she at? Never listen to them. You are gorgeous. Period.
There's like an epidemic of women out there who have this extraordinary self-esteem, these really high opinions of themselves. Based on what? It's clearly not based on what men are looking for, but there is this cultural pressure to pretend as though every single woman exists at the top of the hierarchy, that they're all incredibly desirable because they're women. That's not enough. There are women who exist at the bottom of the rankings. They're just not very desirable dating prospects. Now you might think that this is incredibly obvious. Like, Alexander, why are you even saying this? From my experience, I know in my life, I'm constantly being judged and evaluated and ranked. But that's my point. As a man in this culture, you have been conditioned to that. That's normal for you. But women have been cushioned from that kind of experience. And there are lots of women, undesirable women, who cannot stomach the fact that they're not at the top of the hierarchy. Any suggestion that they're not very desirable or that not that many men would be interested in them are met with accusations of men being pathetic or intimidated by a real woman, or being sexist or misogynistic. And why are they so delusional? Why can't they accept their place? This might be controversial to say this, but I think deep down what it comes down to is that women cannot stomach the idea of men judging them, of men having preferences, of men having the right to say what they find desirable, because the sense of superiority is so deep. Deep down, I think there are so many women that 100% sincerely believe that because of their gender, they are better than men. Biologically, morally, emotionally superior to men. And if you sincerely believe that you're up here because you're a woman and all men exist down here, then the idea of men having preferences or desires or the ability to rank where you exist in a hierarchy, it grates them because they think all men are beneath them. It grates at them in the same way that it would be if an employee was to rank their boss. That upsets the natural order of things. That upsets the hierarchy. I'm the boss. I give the orders. Employees don't give me orders. I really think this is the explanation for why women don't realize that they exist inside this double standard. Why they feel completely comfortable ranking men and then telling the low-ranking men that they need to know their place and know where they exist in the hierarchy, while at the same time fiercely opposing any suggestion that they should know their place and that they might exist in a hierarchy. I am a woman. I am superior to all men. Women are just better, and of course I can judge men. That's my right. I am the superior one from up here, and I judge which one of you is the best. But what's that from down below? A man judging me? Oh, hell no. But regardless of this cultural propaganda that has infected women's minds, the harsh reality is this. The sense of superiority that women have over men is completely false and delusional. In both genders, you find individuals that are vapid and superficial, and also some people that have depth and character. But if a woman has any sense of superiority simply because of her gender, it's evidence of how delusional she is, not of the objective facts of the situation. So many women have complete contempt for maleness, for masculinity, for male preferences, and they can't stand the idea of being subject to judgments based on a man's set of values. But that is what is genuinely upsetting the natural order of things, because the genders have been interacting with each other in a long played out dance of sexual selection for hundreds of thousands of years. The characteristics that women came to excel at, what we have defined femininity as, exist specifically because that's what sexually excited men. Women act in certain ways knowing that that's what's appealing to men. And it works the other way around as well. The kind of characteristics that women find sexually desirable are the ones that men went to display. Men have always preferred some women over others. They've always judged women based on their desirability. And the only effect that all of the shaming and political correctness around this subject has created is that men are harboring these preferences in silence. But every man listening to this knows deep down inside his heart that he does view some women as more desirable than others. He ranks them in terms of their quality. You can't erase this because it's too deep. It's at the level of biology. Men are attracted to women who are young, thin, pretty, low partner count, family-oriented. All the characteristics that indicate that she's going to have healthy children that are paternally yours and are going to be raised well because she's a good mother. If you don't have those characteristics as a woman, by the vast majority of men, you will be judged as less desirable. That's a fact. And if as a woman you don't possess those characteristics of femininity, then you're not likely to attract a top-tier man. You're certainly not entitled to him any more than the incels at the bottom of the male hierarchy are entitled to a woman. You can tell so much about our culture's bias against men by the viciousness we attack those men at the bottom of the hierarchy for any sense of expectation that they have. While as the ultimate slap in the face, at the exact same time, they give a free pass to women. And maybe women don't want to admit it because they know that they're going to get older. That's inevitable. You can't prevent that. And that their partner is still going to be attracted to young, hot women. Given the universality of that, it's actually a nuanced discussion about whether or not a woman should feel jealous about the fact that that her boyfriend notices other women. I made a whole video about it. You can check that out here. But women gain weight, they get older, they lose their desirability. And I don't think that it's too much to expect that they're adults about that they recognize their place in the hierarchy has dropped. As you can tell, I'm not a big one for like protect everybody's feelings in this situation. I know it sounds harsh, but I don't really mind the know your place rhetoric so long as it's not delivered in a cruel way and it's applied equally to both men and women. The political correctness is just getting a bit tiresome. You know, everybody's so desperate to protect everybody's feelings, like know your worth, you're amazing no matter what. No, look, quite frankly, some people suck. They're very low quality, and just telling them that they're amazing and that they should have high self-esteem based on nothing is not helping them. Maybe it would actually be beneficial if they understood their place at the bottom of the hierarchy so that they could work to improve themselves. Certainly as men, we've had our fair share of that. There's lots of guys like, I feel like I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. I'm losing and I'm going to take the motivation to want to be a winner, to improve myself, to become successful, to cultivate my masculinity. Wouldn't it be great if that same energy was applied to women? If you've got a whole generation of women who are spoiled and entitled and really have no femininity or achievements to speak of, if there could be an honest assessment and discussion about their place at the bottom of the hierarchy, that might incentivize them to work on themselves, to lose weight, to gain quality, to cultivate their femininity. It's been pointed out before, the gender imbalance and the fact that there are so many channels like mine that are dedicated towards helping young men, in instructing them to grow, to succeed, to cultivate their masculinity, and so few equivalent channels for women. That's a quality I really like about men. That's something I admire about us. You guys who've bought my course and read those real stories and answered those 100 questions, you've done that because you want the best for yourself. You want a successful life. You want a high quality girlfriend, and you're working to achieve that. I love that. I just wish that same enthusiasm and drive existed inside women. And I can't help but make the connection that we're so concerned with sparing women's feelings and protecting them from the knowledge that they might exist low in the rankings, and the fact that so few women are dedicating themselves with the same kind of enthusiasm that men are to self-improvement. If a woman keeps getting older, keeps becoming more unpleasant in her personality, keeps racking up numbers of ex-boyfriends, at some point, I think it's in her best interest that we stop cheering her on, saying, you're amazing, know your worth, you're incredible. Any man who doesn't see that, he's a loser. It's his fault. I don't think that helps her. I actually think it's in her best interest that somebody says to her the truth. Every year that you get older, you're becoming less desirable. You're making terrible decisions that are just placing those top tier guys further and further from your reach. Take responsibility for the bad choices that you're making. Turn things around. Get better goals. Get a better value system. Work on cultivating your femininity. Become more desirable to men. Stop shaming men for not being attracted to you, and actually have the humility to say, hey, maybe it's time for me to adjust slightly. Instead of telling every man on the planet that their criteria for what they find sexy and desirable is wrong, maybe I should listen. I don't know, maybe I'm speaking into the void. Maybe this is completely unrealistic to expect this. It all just seems to come back to this psychological inability that women seem to have to accept the idea of being judged by a man, of having an ego so fragile that they can't stomach the idea of not being at the top of the ladder. And it's so disappointing because for both men and women, one of the characteristics that makes you high quality is the ability to accept reality, to accept the true value of where you are. And women have such a vicious response to any man who they perceive to be delusional, who has a self-esteem that isn't justified. And I just think it's in women's best interest that we hold up a mirror. I've managed to make myself a bit depressed as I've been recording this video. I think I'll end it here. I wonder how this is going to be received. I have no idea.